Hello and welcome to Technology Made Clear. Today we're going to be looking at how you do a VLOOKUP in Excel. It's not too difficult. When you first use VLOOKUPs you might think, oh, this is quite difficult to understand, but once you get used to them, they're really easy to do, VLOOKUPs, and it's a really powerful tool as well. So first of all, what is a VLOOKUP? So a VLOOKUP is when you've got data in a particular part of the spreadsheet, and then in another area of the spreadsheet you want to enter a value, and that value matches the exact value of data elsewhere, and you want to bring that data into that particular part of the spreadsheet. There's absolutely hundreds of reasons why you'd want to do this. So I'm just going to look at one of them today, and I've worked on the basis of, as you can see here, product code, product description, cost, category ID, stock level and weight. So I've worked on the basis of these are your sales, and we'll say these are your sales on eBay. So you're an eBay seller, and here I've just taken a quick note of the sales that you've made today. Okay, so these are the products you've sold today on eBay. Now down here you can see you've got the sales tab, and here you've got your stock tab. It's not a very big stock level. This is just obviously to show you how to do VLOOKUPs, but look at this on the basis of this would be a complete catalog from a supplier. So there's unlikely that a supplier would ever have only 33. It's 34, but that's the header there, the top line. 33 stock items of stock. So this would be thousands and thousands of items of stock. So that's where you're going to look at why VLOOKUPs are so powerful, because they can bring back information without you having to go and look through thousands of lines of stock. So if we had VLOOKUPs set up here, for example, there, if we just type in what was sold today, so MOL-18, doesn't bring anything in. Okay. So now if we do a VLOOKUP, I'll show you the power of VLOOKUP. So what we want to do here, this is our sales tab. So this is going to list all the sales we do. Maybe here we'll have sales date. So we're going to use the sales date of today, which is 10th of February 18. This is just to show you can also enter other data. It doesn't have to be all VLOOKUPs. You can enter the VLOOKUPs wherever you like. So here, instead of typing in the product description of MOL-18, one, you might not know what MOL-18 refers to, and if you've got thousands of products, it's likely you would. And instead of having to then go through a stock level and hunt for it, you could do control find and type in MOL-18, but it's still a bit of a faff. Then once you've found it, you'd have to press that, copy, go over there, and then paste and do that. Now you can imagine, oh, now I've got to go and get costs, category ID, stock level, weights, and then do that for all of the products you've sold. It'll take a long time. So this is why you'd use your VLOOKUP. So instead, I'm going to show you two ways of doing a VLOOKUP. I'll first show you equals is always what you use when you want to do a formula. And then V, now the V stands for vertical. You can also do horizontal lookups. Generally speaking, most people do vertical lookups because most people put data going vertically, not horizontally. So VLOOKUP, and then you want to open the bracket. And then the first thing you need to do, it needs to know what you want it to look up. So it's that there, MOL-18. Well, anything what's in cell A2. And then you press comma. And then it needs to know where you want to look up. Now, it could be on the same sheet, but as you can see here, it's not. It's on a different tab. So just click over to that tab. And we want it to bring up B here. So go highlight there to there. Make sure it enters all of the information, and you can see there it's done that for you. And then here, comma 2, The reason you're doing 2 is you don't want it to bring back the code because you've already entered the code in sales. You want it to bring back the product description. So that's 1, 2. So that's where you put in 2, and then comma, and then false. Now, if you put true, it will do an approximate match. Very unlikely you're ever going to want to do a true because you want an exact match. You might have situations where you want to do an approximate match, but in general, you'd want to do an exact match. So you type in false, and then close bracket, hit return, and as you can see, it's brought over the information, which is really good. However, I just want to show you something that I would always recommend when you're doing VLOOKUPs. I've used Excel for many years. I've done many VLOOKUPs on many different spreadsheets at many different companies. And the one thing I would say is using a VLOOKUP on a range where you've not defined the range. And what I mean by that is this here going down like that. That is an area, it's not defined. It's A to B2, so it's A2 to B34, and you'll see that from there, A2 colon B34. It's not defined. It's worked, but I would definitely recommend defining the information what you want to look up. And the best way of doing that is if this is all your stock level, you can define it all. So just highlight all of this information here. Go down, so you don't need to define it like that. Oh, that would be for product description, and then we want to do it for costs. You don't do that, you just highlight all of the area, and then up here change it to maybe just stock catalog. So we just put stock cat, and that stands for catalog. Hit return, and then that's defined that range now. That range will be known as stock cat, as you can see there, throughout the whole of the spreadsheet. And I'd just recommend to do that. It's the best way to do VLOOKUPs, because trust me, if you don't and you just use a range like I've done here, over time you will have problems. So it's much easier to use a range. So let's do it now with the range. So we won't have to go to that stock tab now, because we know the range and we know just to put stock cat. So equals VLOOKUP, open bracket. Now we want to have A2 and then comma, and then we know it's stock cat. And as you can see, as soon as you started typing, it knows there's a label stock cat. So you don't need to type it all. You can do if you want, or you can just click on that label, double click, and it will put it in for you. And then comma. Now we know we want to bring in the second piece of information, which is product description. So it's 2, and we know we want an exact match, so then it's false, and then close brackets. There you go, that's brought it through. Now if you drag this down, first of all, let's put all of our sales, what we've done today. So we've sold all of them today, put them there, that's fine. If you drag this down, you can either double click there, and that will put the formula down to where the data ends here, or you can drag it, whichever you want, with double click. As you can see, it's automatically changed it to suit using the VLOOKUP, and you can do that going across as well. So here, just drag it across, and it'll automatically bring back not applicable. I'll tell you why it's done that in a second. That's absolutely fine. It's a very good reason actually to explain why that's happened. Okay, so that's number 2. When you use Excel, Excel assumes a few things for you. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And what it's done here, you've moved the cell across, so it assumes it needs to move everything across. So as you can see there, it's got A2. Here, it's got B2. It's assumed that that's the natural logical process that it needs to go through. So this cell here, it's changed it to C2, D2, and so on, as you can see. Now, there's a way you can stop Excel doing that. The issue Excel has got here right now is you want it to not change the actual character, the alpha character. So you want it to stay on A, don't you? You want the 2 to stay the same, which it does. Going down, for example, you want it, it's staying on the A, but you want it to change to 4 because that's the row. That's fine. Going across, you want it to stay with A going all the way across there. Easiest way of doing that is just to put a $ before the character you don't want Excel to move change for you. So just put a $ there and press return. Always remember, obviously, you're now going to do that for the rest of them. Do that. Now if you drag it across, it will bring that information across for you. Okay, now again, as you can see, it's made another mistake, and that mistake is that it's brought back item 2. That's fine, you can't really do much about that. You just have to go in yourself and type in 3, and the reason we've done 3 is because over here the cost is in C, so it's number 3, and then that will be 4. So I guess really this exercise has showed you it's not necessarily a good idea to copy Vlookups going across the screen. Doing it downwards is fine, across the screen isn't always the best. 3, 4, that should be 5, and that should be 6. Okay, so that's bringing across all the data from there. So you can see that's a really powerful tool, because if you drag that down now, it's changed it all for you. So just to check, the Sleepy Lavender HCS04 costs £15 and it's under the category ID of 53. If you check here, HCSC04, there we go, £15, category ID 53, which is there. So it does bring through the right data for you. And yeah, it just shows the power of Vlookups. As I said, you can use it for lots and lots and lots of different reasons. It's a really powerful tool, so I'd definitely look at using Vlookups. Now, if it comes across like it's a bit difficult at first, a really good way of getting used to understanding how formulas work is if we scrap all of this, get rid of it, go back to the top here. So I automatically know I just need to do it equals Vlookup, and I know exactly what the parenthesis is for the whole of the formula. So if you don't, just press equals and then do function here, and then start typing in your function Vlookup, press go, and it'll bring it up there. Highlight the one you want a Vlookup, press OK, and then it puts the argument in a table for you, a dialog box, making it much easier for you to understand at first. This is long-winded. Once you understand how formulas work, this is possibly not the best way of doing it. It's much better just to type your formulas as you go, but this is much easier at the beginning. So the lookup value, it tells you, so looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table. Now we know that will be A2, and if you press A2 there, it's actually giving you what it thinks you referring to, which is mol 18, which is correct, mol 18. And then if you tab over, table array is where you're going to be looking for. Now we know that we've called it stock cat, but if you didn't, for example, you can click there, and then that allows you to go and find the information it's looking at, which is that there, and then press return. But as you can see, it knows it's stock cat. It automatically is brought back stock cat. So you could have just typed in stock cat, would have brought back the same information. And then the column index here, this is for this one, so it's product description, so we know that's number 2. We want that to bring that number 2. Press tab, and the last one here is whether it's false or true. Because we want an exact, you type in false. Now that may make it easier for most people. I think it will, because on each one of these it gives you an example of what you're trying to do. So I would recommend, if you're using a formula at first and you're finding it a bit daunting, use this way of doing it first, and as you can see, it'll bring back the same information for you. But as you saw earlier, moving them across like that is a bit of a pain. So maybe you don't want to do that. The easiest way of doing it, you can either copy it and paste it, and then all you need to change is that to A, and you know you need to change that to 3. You can do that, but then you'd have to do it on each one. Personally speaking, I find it much easier just to do it myself. A2 stock cat, and then 3, and then false. Best to do that across, going across like that. You can double click A2 stock cat. See, it really does it all for you. You only have to start typing the first bits that you need. So it's 1 2 3 4 false, 3 4, and then I'm just showing you this because once you've done this part, the rest of it you can just drag it down. But going across, as you saw earlier, I showed you, it doesn't necessarily work that great, so it's best to do it all manually. Or if it's really long-winded, like I said, you could have done it where you put the $sign there, and that would have fixed that, but it wouldn't have fixed this here. So sometimes Excel does things for you, and it's the right logical path for you. Other times it isn't. You can change all of this, but it's much long-winded. It's quite long-winded, so it's much easier just to do it yourself. So here, Vlookup A2 dash stock cat. I think it's 6 and false. There we go. And then as far as dragging down, you can, as I said, you can double click there, and it will drag all this down to the last cell there, or you can just highlight it and drag it down, whatever you feel is best. So you can drag it down to there, drag it down to the bottom. So hopefully that shows you how useful VLOOKUPs are